So I made this bait, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. A little bass pattern crankbait with an internal rattle, and I couldn't be happier with the result. I also filmed a video of the build process of this bait, intended to be my first YouTube video. I downloaded all the footage, cut it all together, and it sucked. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not like it was bad or weird. It was just not what I wanted to be my first YouTube video on this channel. So I kind of scrapped that whole idea. I gutted it, used some of the clips to make a Instagram reel. I also wasn't happy with the content of the video. If you watch fishing lure builds on YouTube at all, you know there's some pretty crazy stuff out there that's being pioneered by a lot of great builders. And do I think I'm capable of a lot of the things that they do? Probably not. But I am capable of something a little more entertaining and interesting. Nothing bad about the bait. I think it's a fantastic bait and somebody's going to love to have it one day, but I just think we can do better. So I wanted to do something a little more challenging. A few days ago, a return customer actually reached out to me wanting to build a custom bait. They wanted a glide bait that looked like an ultra realistic mud sunfish. Now, problem number one with that is I'd never seen a mud sunfish before in my life. We don't have them where I live. We have plenty of sunfish, but I've never heard of a mud sunfish. So I looked it up and it's actually a pretty cool looking fish. Here's what it looks like. So, all right, yeah, I can definitely do that.
I don't believe you.
Sounds like a great challenge. But not only did they want an ultra realistic mud sunfish glide bait, they wanted to be able to adjust the weight in it, to adjust whether it would slow sink or slow float. And I've never done anything like that before. So my answer to this customer was obviously yes, let's do it. I drew up a template, sent it off to the customer. This is what it looks like. They really liked it except for the lip. That's why there's an X on it. They do not want a lip on this. So this is what the bait will hopefully look like when it's done. And that's what we're going to do today. Thank you for being here. My name's Jesse and welcome to Freak Baits. All right, our objective today is to turn this block of basswood into this lure. And as this is my first YouTube video, I do want to take a minute to share a little bit about myself and my history when it comes to bait making. You know, introductions and whatnot. It's a relatively short history, so shouldn't take too long. So it all started several years ago when I stumbled upon a YouTuber by the name of Nate Marling and his channel Marling Baits. If you've ever looked up bait making on YouTube, then you know exactly who I'm talking about. Anyway, I watched his videos for years thinking, I want to try that. And that day came a little over a year ago in October of 2023, which was the day I made my first crankbait. And it was pretty terrible. But I kept at it, and I even enrolled in the Marling Fish With Your Masterpiece course, which was a game changer. And while I definitely watch videos and learn from other great makers like Solarfall, Engineered Angler, and Zimtex, to name a few, Marling has always been my biggest influence. Which you may have already guessed, considering my entire process looks a lot like his. But I wouldn't dare compare my skills to him at this point. But at least I have something to shoot for. Right now, I'm more like what your mom is talking about whenever she says, we have Marling baits at home. Cutting out the top profile is pretty much identical to cutting out the side profile, so I'm not going to make you sit through all that again. All right, so we have our body roughed out. Peeling this template off of there, because one thing about these super cheap glue sticks is they may not stick paper together all that well, but they sure stick paper to wood very thoroughly. So that's something I always try to get off there as quickly as possible, because you can see, I mean, it's not wanting to let go already, and it's only been on there for a couple of minutes. And while I'm peeling the rest of this off, let's talk about the elephant that's about to enter the room. I'm about to start hand carving on this bait. As I'm carving, you will likely see me do things like cut towards myself or cut very close to one of my other appendages. There's no need to let me know that I shouldn't do that, because I am fully aware that I shouldn't do that. Has that stopped me? No. Have I ever cut myself as a result of those actions? Absolutely. I don't know. I look at it as I need to get this thing to look as good as possible, and I am willing to sacrifice my body to a very small extent in order to accomplish that goal. Now, if I'm using power tools like the bandsaw, I always make sure that I am following proper safety procedures, or as proper as is reasonable. When it comes to the big spinny, hurdy stuff, yeah, I definitely keep the fleshy bits away from that. Again, Don't take safety advice from me. I'm just some idiot in his garage that builds lures. You should take all of the safety precautions that you deem necessary. So there's my disclaimer. You can skip the lecture. I already know and I already understand the possible consequences of my actions, and I have chosen to disregard those. So it is what it is. They're my fingers, not yours.
Not to worry. I have a permit.
This just says I can do what I want.
Anyway, I've got most of the paper off of this. I may go hit it with the sander one more time just to get the last little bits off. But yeah, we are moving along quite nicely. I don't know. We may be ready for fine carving by the time I have to wrap up for today. I almost forgot. I want to go ahead and establish these eye sockets. So right here, I was trying to get you some of that good ASMR carving noise, but I forgot that I had an extra blade rattling around in the handle of my utility knife, so that's better. I'm also just realizing that if you're here because you follow me on Instagram or Facebook or anything, you've never seen my face or heard my voice. So yeah, this is me. Hi. I don't know what to say. This is awkward. Yeah, stick to the carving, buddy. I'll handle the voiceovers from here. Okay, so we have our bait cut in half, cleaned it up a little bit. Now it's time to go to work on this weight adjustment system. Now, when this customer reached out, he did describe to me how he would like this to work, and he let me know that it was based off of an existing bait that I don't believe that is sold anymore. So I'm going based off of what this customer told me they wanted in their bait. So any resemblance to another bait out there, real or perceived, is purely coincidental, and I don't have any money. So if you do sue me, it's not going to work out well for you. Just letting you know. But anyway, hopefully I haven't bitten off more than I can carve.
That don't make no sense.
Wish me luck. I think we're there. I think we got it. That went far better than I anticipated it going. Got our fins. It's friction fit in there. I'm going to pin all those in. Oops. Maybe not the best friction fit, but very happy with how that's turned out so far. I think the next thing that we need to do is figure out where the lead holes are going to go. There's going to be 4 tungsten ball bearings in this, which is going to give it quite a bit of weight, but it's going to need more. All right, our bait is sealed. We're gonna let that polyurethane cure overnight. Back with you in the morning.
3 days later.
So you're probably wondering why it's 3 days later. Well, let me share with you a little story about loss and tragedy. I came out the next morning to do a test fit on the bait off camera, of course, because I wanted to make sure that the wood didn't swell and that the bearings still fit in the bait properly. Well, then, like an idiot, when I took the bait apart, I completely forgot about the ball bearings being in there, and they went all over my shop floor. All 4 of them. I was able to find 3, but 1 has apparently been sacrificed to the upside down, so it's gone, and I had to order more, which were supposed to arrive in 1 day, but didn't arrive until 3 days later. So here we are. That's the story. So I've run into just a little bit of an order of operations problem because I'm having to rethink my step-by-step process for this bait based on the weight adjustment system, and that's fine. It's challenging, but it's totally okay. I was gluing the fins in, didn't take into account that below this fin there is a lead hole, so I can't really glue that in until I have lead in it. I can't really glue it in until after I've water tested because I may need to adjust the amount of lead in there by taking some out. So what we're going to do is go ahead, get the lead pot heated up, add the back fin and the screw eye. I'm going to use a twist wire for that so that it's got enough length to make sure that there's plenty of purchase in the bait since it has to stick out past the fins. I'm going to get that added and then pour the lead, and then whenever I water test this, I'm just going to use some rubber cement to hold it in there temporarily to make sure that we get everything perfect.
Oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire.
Well, that was a cool magic trick. Lead must be a little hot. All right, let's try to not set this one on fire. Usually with a bait like this where I'm going to have a removable pin, I want that pin to come in from the top. Putting it in from the top lets gravity work for you, and it doesn't put as much of a risk of that pin falling out. I don't really have an option to do that on this bait because I've got the fins in place. I don't want to move that front fin forward because I think it'll look weird, so I came up with an idea, which is this, and it's kind of like a cotter pin. Basically, the idea of it is once you put your bearings in and you put your bait together, you can insert this pin, which will snap into place. There's no chance of that falling out on its own. It's actually kind of hard to remove without using pliers or something like that. And this is stainless spring steel, so it should keep its shape over time. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that it's gonna work just fine. Get our top half in. Line everything up. I think that is going to work extremely well. Okay, so we have our last fin hot glued in there. We've got our 2 Owner Stinger size 1 2x strong treble hook hanging from the hook hangers to make sure that we're getting the weight as close as possible. My hope is that this is going to sink pretty fast as it sits, and then we can remove lead to adjust it. Moment of truth. It floats.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Which means we need to add more lead, which means I need to find a place to add more lead. This is a pretty thick bait, and I was worried that that might happen. All right, let's add more lead. So I just did like an hour's worth of work on this bait off camera. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything. It was all really boring stuff. Just trying to figure out how to get this thing to act the way that I want it to. And I think we finally got it there. In this back half, I drilled a couple of holes and glued and press fit a couple of 3/0 split shot in there. I drilled some out of the front hole. I was about halfway into it whenever I realized I was not taking the eyes into account, so I hot glued some of the glass eyes in. I think after a lot of back and forth, we are there. There's water all over me, there's water all over my shop floor, but I think this is going to be our final water test. Let me show you where we're at. Like, that is so slow. Right on that tipping point. I think we are good. Alright, at this point in the build, I kind of switched into autopilot, stopped talking, and just painted. I hit the bait with a quick coat of white primer, and then started off with some yellow ochre. After that, I lightly went over the top with some detailed burnt sienna, just to give it a little darker color towards the top of the bait. Now this was the fun part. This is where I started doing some freehand airbrushing of the lines that are going to form the pattern on the side of this bait. Now originally when I looked at it, I thought this bait was dark brown with yellow stripes. Turns out it's the opposite. It's yellow with dark brown stripes. This is by far the most freehand airbrushing I've done on anything, and let me tell you, I was a little nervous trying to get all this just right and perfect. So another reason why I didn't talk much. And then after that, I hit all of the fins with a coat of detailed sepia, and then went in with a hand brush to bring out some of the spine detail. do like to use a UV clear coat on pretty much everything. I just love how easy it is to work with and how good it looks when you're done. Plus, it's very, very durable. So you will probably always see me use UV on pretty much every bait I make. I have to say, this music's about to put me to sleep, and I don't call this freak baits for no reason, so let's kick it up a notch. Shall we? Much better. Alright, so after wrapping the bait and a little bit of window screen, I started painting the scales. The scales consisted of metallic gold on the sides, with a little bit of metallic black on the top, and some pearl white on the bottom. Alright, so I intentionally didn't speed any of this next part up because I wanted to show just how tedious and arduous it is to add all of the little accent lines and shadows to these gill plates, because it's not easy to do and it takes a very light touch, and I have very big dumb hands, so it took a while and I wanted to show that off. If you don't like it, just fast forward a few seconds, it'll be fine. Wait, where'd the music go? Oh, the song wasn't long enough. Start over. Well, it's finally time for the last clear coat on this bait, and you can really see the details in the scales and gills come alive as I add it, but I think I'm going to wait to show you the whole thing until the big reveal. So that is it. A mud sunfish glide bait with an adjustable weight system. I can't tell you how much fun this build was. It was incredibly challenging. It tested all of my skills as a bait maker, and I'm incredibly happy with the end result. I also sent photos to the customer, and they are incredibly happy with the product that they're receiving. They can't wait to get it in their hands, and I can't wait for them to have it. As I'm sure this turned out to be a pretty long video, I appreciate if you stuck around to the end. If you would be so kind as to leave a comment with what you think, I'm always open to constructive feedback. However, if you're a jerk about it, I will shame you publicly and mercilessly, so let's all be nice, shall we? And I guess now's the time where I'm supposed to do the whole YouTube thing and say choke slam that like button and flying elbow drop that subscribe button from the top rope. And if you would be so kind as to share this video with someone you know who might enjoy it, I would be eternally grateful. That's all for now. More videos coming soon. My name is Jesse, aka Freak, and thank you for watching.